Hello, everyone. Um, Sue got her nails done. Jeff, Sue, you got to get your own. You got to get your own nomenclature. It's very confusing when Jeff says he's had his nails done. Hello, everyone. Lovely to see you. I've had my hair cut, but I don't get my nails done because I'm too bad at looking after them. So I'm au naturel. They're quite long for me actually at the moment. Let's have some Pinot Gris. Hello, Craig. Oh, my goodness. All right, come on, brain. Catch up. While I'm getting my brain to catch up, I'm just going to show you my beautiful... I didn't manage to do the Ottolenghi thing, but I made myself... Ooh, nearly spilt olive oil and balsamic vinegar on the computer. I made myself a salad caprese and a little bit of... I made Fee's terrine last weekend, and we had a bit left over, so that's my little bit of protein. Hello, Alison, Sue and Jeff, David, Craig and Karen and Joan, and Shell and Andrew, hello. And Rita, who was first, Dan and Paige, g'day. Have I missed anyone? I think I've either said hello out loud, or here's Richard back again from the cellar. He's got some bottles. Hello, Anne. How you going? Good to see you. No protein. Good on you, Shell. Bit more cheese. Never hurt anyone. Sue and Jeff are doing. Sue said to me this morning, "Do you think goat's cheese will be all right?" And I said, "I don't think it'll work. But why don't you try them?" But actually, I said, "No, yuck." I think was my response early this morning, which I then regretted. But I said, I think that the mozzarella will be better. But Sue and Jeff are going to taste the goat's cheese and the mozzarella and let us know. My tomatoes, I have got green zebra. The green ones are green zebra. Then the dark ones are ox heart, I believe. And then there's some tigerella in there as well, which are slightly stripy little red ones, and there's some Tommy tomatoes in there too. So a nice little mix. There's also a recipe that I nearly sent you around from Ottolenghi called a tomato party, which looks quite fun. And I think I might try that if I've still got lots of tomatoes coming on, so I might have a tomato party later. It's all sorts of tomatoes with couscous, I think. Okay, what else? Hello, Peter. How you going? Let's get some wine in our glass. Pedal pusher now. Who's pedal? That's Sonia. Hello, Sonia. I have to remember everyone's names. Keeping the wine to drink tomorrow with a friend. Hello, lovely to see you again. Yeah, David, $80 a kilo for the cheese. I have to admit I had to go just regular mozzarella because I didn't have time to go searching for buffalo. But the buffalo mozzarella is delicious and the best. Do I keep and replant the seeds? Sometimes I do, Craig, but I've had some failures with tomatoes in the last few years. Don't call me while I'm on Drinks with Kate, Jill. I've put her on silent now, so she can't annoy us anymore. I can't put her on silent, just her phone. Hello, Sue and Daryl. How you going? Yeah, Cotty, I was looking at my tomatoes and just went, I can't not do. And this wine is so good with tomatoes. I'll tell you all again the story of my revelation about this wine with tomatoes later on. But let's see how the wine's looking. How's the wine looking? Is it any good? It's a nice colour, isn't it? It's a bit kind of muted by my grey t-shirt, but if I hold it up to the light. No, it doesn't work. I can see it. It looks beautiful. It's orange rather than pink now. It's sort of a beautiful dark pinky orange. It's rather wonderful. Let's see how this is going. David, are you saying that the wine's very nice, or that the buffalo mozzarella is very nice? Sun-dried and semi-dried tomato, Pete, we'll talk about that in a bit. Is that a bigger glass than normal? No, it's my normal glass. I just am holding it closer to the screen. I've got less hair, so it makes the glass look bigger. I don't know. All right. So no decant, says Cotty. I forgot. So pour a little bit in your glass and then taste it. And then what you can do a decant from the glass into the decanter and then back into the glass. Or you can get a second. Oh God, that was hard. Sorry, Cotty. I'm a bit of an airhead today. I don't know why, but my brain's not working very well at the moment. It's made a difference. I recommend a decant. It's just open that wine up a little bit, and I don't know whether it's so I'll put the rest of it into the decanter. Here we go. Hello, Nareem and all the dyes. How you going? Here we go. The rest, just a really quick decant. It doesn't have any sediment, so you don't need to worry about that. That's one of the good things about a clear bottle. Chuck it in the decanter. You can see that beautiful colour even more. But the big Pinot Noir glass does do the trick pretty well, I reckon. All right, so it changed quite a bit after the decant, I reckon too, Dan. I think there's a little bit of reduction in the wine, which is okay. And what I mean by reduction, there's a little bit of a slightly farty smell when you first pour it, and as soon as you get some air into it, it goes away. So sort of cabbagey or a little bit rubbery, or like a balloon when you blow it up. The smell of that air that comes out of the balloon, that's reduction. And I just gave it a quick decant, and that's all gone, and I'm getting much more interesting aromatics on the nose. Peter and Karen, hello. Rush to get the food on the table. I understand. What causes reduction again, Craig? Well, it's a combination of a lack of oxygen and some sulfides in the wine, and they react and cause a slightly flinty, rubbery smell. If you'd like a more scientific explanation, I can get Richard over here. He's giving me looks. Do you want to tell them about reduction, Dad? What causes reduction? Do you think that was a good oxidation, reduction, and when there's not enough oxygen and there's a bit of sulfide in the wine, then it can get a bit stinky. But as soon as unless it goes too far, the thing that you've got to think is, unless it goes too far and becomes McCaptain's, which is like burnt rubber, like you're standing next to a fire of tyres, that often doesn't go away. And if it doesn't clear up when you get some air into it, then that means that it's kind of stuck as McCaptain's. But this was just a little slight whiff of flinty stinkiness that's gone away with just a little bit of air. That wasn't a very scientific explanation, Craig, but I hope it was good enough, because it's all you're going to get today. I can send you an article about it if you need something more serious. I'll get Jeremy. If Jeremy was here, he would be able to explain it to us in great detail, and then we'd all need another glass of wine. All right, so now we've got rid of that slightly stinky smell. What are we smelling? It's really interesting. I'm getting sort of orange blossom and a little bit of kind of dried blood orange slices, which might be suggestive of, the colours suggesting it to me. It's almost Aperol coloured, isn't it? It's pretty cool. I'm getting a little bit of strawberry. I'm getting some tomato, but I think that's coming off my tomato salad rather than the wine. Jill's already eating her salad. She was hungry. How's the salad going with the wine, Jill? It's delicious with the wine, Jill says. I better get tasting the wine so I can... The green ones are tartar, and the red ones, the dark red one, I gave you guys more of the dark red one than I got because I've had it before. The dark red ox heart tomatoes are quite deep in flavour and quite sweet, but also quite savoury. They've got a lovely depth of flavour. They're quite complex. I think I'll be growing them again. Kay's getting an almost Aperol. Hello, Kay. Rita, retracted a message. Okay. I tried to match my lipstick to the wine. Do you think I've done all right? More tomato leaf, but loses it with the decant, said Craig. Yeah, I agree. A little bit of tomato leaf. There's some herbal notes in there, but there's also kind of like almost a green strawberry kind of a note to it. That's just kind of, that bright strawberry has sort of settled down a little bit. Rita had a 2022 Pinot Gris and Skins earlier in the week. So, Rita, we're drinking the 2022 tonight. What are you drinking? Or did you have a different, are you talking about the 24? I'm confused now. So this is, yes, the 24. Yeah, so the 24 is a different colour. It's kind of, but I think it may develop a little bit more of that orange tint to it as it gets older if we give it a chance to age. So, yeah. So tomato leaf, a little bit of almost Aperol. There's a really lovely kind of bitter orange kind of a tang to the nose. David's saying that extra bottle age totally worth the wait. I know. Well, this is one of those. This is one of those wines that I had no idea how it was going to age. So, this is as much of an adventure for me as it is for you guys tonight. So, don't get to say that very often. I have a feeling for those of you who made the bit of blood orange, yeah, definitely, Craig. But I'm also getting some sort of savoury oregano and thyme and possibly the basil in the salad is coming up as well. This is beautiful basil that Jill's grown for me, so I'm going to just break that up and put it across the salad now that I've taken a photo and shown you how beautiful it is. Savoury, salty nose and taste, yummy with the mozzarella. I better try it with the mozzarella and basil. Hey, hang on a sec. And tomato. Okay, this is going to be a little bit of a big mouthful, so you're just going to have to talk amongst yourselves for a moment. Hang on. Yum. Yeah, it brings out more of that kind of juicy strawberry fruit, a bit of red cherry with the tomato and the mozzarella. The basil brings out some of those more herbal notes, which I think is really gorgeous. Have I drank this with Italians, or do you sell into Italy? Do they like this? We don't sell into Italy. I think most Italians look at this and are a bit frightened by it. No, we haven't really done that. But very early on, when we first made this wine, the first time we tried it with food was on Tomato Passata Day here at Moorooduc with our Italian friends. And Andrew Venturini used to work for us, and his mother, Beatrice, is that right, Jill? What's Andrew's mum's name? Venturini. Mother's name? Mrs. Venturini. Linda, are you there? Can you tell us? Can you remind us? Anyway, Fee, hello, excellent. Oh, good. And who are you with, Fee? Anyway, the story goes that Andrew's mum, who taught us how to make tomato passata, took all of the kind of offcuts of the tomatoes that didn't go into the passata and the slightly imperfect bits and made us beautiful. Oh, Kay. Oh, hello, Kay. Sorry, I should have worked that out. You get your nails done together. Excellent work. I'm glad that David left you some wine. So we had this wine first of all, the 15 and the 16 we tasted together with a dish of big bowl of pasta in fresh tomato sauce, which was just made with tomatoes, bit of garlic, salt and pepper, lots of olive oil, cooked down until it went kind of amber in colour. And the aromas were just and then we chucked some bit of basil on top, bit of Parmesan cheese. It was delicious. And that's what made me realise that this is a really good match to tomatoes. So I've known that this works well with tomatoes from very early days. And I'm really delighted to see how well it's working tonight. I put a little bit of balsamic vinegar on our salad as well, and I think that brings out, kind of balances out that sour blood orange kind of note to the wine as well. It also, I think the food brings up a really lovely textural quality to the wine as well that maybe wasn't so obvious. Kay without knee is David's mum. Yes, absolutely. You guys made the ottolenghi salad. It looks delicious. I ran out of time to do the marinade, but I'll be making it soon. How are the extra spices with the wine? I would imagine they'd be pretty awesome. I'm going to shove some more food in my mouth, so excuse me for a moment. It's too yummy. I was at least smart enough to cut my mozzarella crosswise before I sliced it up. Pretty yummy. Rita's in love with the salad, especially the fennel seeds. I reckon fennel seeds would be awesome with this wine because I think this wine has a little bit of anise kind of savouriness to it as well. So I think all of those flavours in that dish are going to work really, really well with this wine. Just bring up the perfume. Anne nearly put the tomatoes and mozzarella on the salt block. Ooh, that would be pretty good too. So just in case anyone doesn't know what Anne's talking about, Anne's got a big slab of salt that if you put food on it and then eat it off the salt, then you kind of get that salt soaking into the food a little bit. It's rather wonderful. How long does your salt block last for, Anne? I know that I've seen it. You've shown it to me before. But do you have to buy a new one every couple of years, or does it just kind of go on and on and on? I'd be very interested to know. I sprinkled some pink salt over the top of this, and it was really lovely. I think the basil with the wine is absolutely delicious. I forgot to bring basil in. I've got a little bit of basil in my garden, but not very much. I was going to buy some. And lucky for me, my mother had just enough for us to scatter across the salad. I hope I haven't completely depleted her basil plant because hopefully it will come back and grow her some more basil. But I do love freshly picked basil with this thing. And Sue and Jeff, can you tell us, a chip off the old block, thanks Pete, Nareem, late to the tasting, stronger. Yeah, the orange colour and the orange aroma is really interesting. The Dyes are having lasagna with this. That'd be delicious. Lots for ages. Excellent, Anne. That's a good measure of time. Thank you. Tomatoes and bocconcini seems to enhance the cherry type flavours, while goat's cheese and tomato seem to accentuate the blood orange and orange rind characters. Both equally delicious, say Sue and Jeff. Interesting. David has a lamb match to the wine. And Rita, are you having steak with it now or are you having it later? Because this is a wine, particularly as it warms up in the glass, that I think can behave very much like a red wine and can handle lamb, can handle steak. I've got a little bit, Fee, you might have missed that I've got a little bit of your recipe still that I made. I made this on the weekend. I'm just going to have a little taste of that with this because I think it might be pretty good too. Nice salty, lemony, tarragony chicken. God, it's good. Yum. Makes the wine taste completely different. The chicken and the salt and the tarragon kind of dulls the wine down a little bit, whereas the tomato and mozzarella and basil makes it more flavoursome. It's really interesting because I thought that the terrine would be a little bit less bossy with the wine, but it's really kind of I mean, the wine still tastes good, but the terrine is the absolute hero in that food and wine match. Whereas when we do the mozzarella and the tomato, the wine is the hero, and the mozzarella and tomato are just really nice kind of supports to the wine. So that's really cool. Rita wants to know, when did we start making Pinot Gris on skins? So our very first Pinot Gris on skins was made in 2015. I had come back I'd been in Italy in 2010 and tasted some wines that were made from white grape varieties, but made using red wine making technique. And then for a couple of years after I'd come back, because I'd gone over to Europe to visit my cousin in Italy and to go to England to pick up my certificate because I'd passed my Master of Wine. So I was giddy with excitement and full of my own sense of importance, having succeeded in my MW studies finally. And I came back and I said, I should probably learn how to make wine now. I'll help you out with vintage. And Dad said, and at the time I was very involved. I was on the wine committee for the Wine and Food Festival. Dad's coming over to get wine, so I'm just going to top my glass up a little bit before he runs away with it. There you go. So I was involved in the wine committee for the Melbourne Food and Wine Fest, which, as some of you will remember, happened in March. And if you remember back in the day when there were the masterclasses, the cooking masterclasses, there were always some wine masterclasses as well. So I was involved in organising those with some friends, and so I was expected to be at them and be involved with the launch of the Food and Wine Festival and all that kind of thing. And sorry, there's a conversation going on in the room that's not me. You're distracting me. I said Beatrice. Thank you. Andrew Venturini's mother was Beatrice. Excellent. We're all in agreement. Good. Okay, that's the end of that story. Now back to the current story. So Dad and Jeremy got totally frustrated with me in 2011, remember, was a very weird vintage. So, but they were quite frustrated with me that I wasn't particularly helpful that year. 2012 which was the really small early vintage, Dad? Was that 12 or 13? There was one year that I remember I'd kind of given everything up. I think it might have been 13 or it might have been 14. No, it was 14, 2014. 2014, I'd finally given everything up. I'd got off the committee. I was all ready to do vintage, and it was such a small vintage that I got told to go back to my day job. Vintage kind of came and went very, very quickly. So that was very disappointing. But in 2013, when I was kind of coming and going from vintage, I noticed these grapes that came in that didn't really look like Pinot Noir grapes because they weren't quite dark enough, but I couldn't work out what they were. And of course, they were Pinot Gris. We get a huge amount of colour in the skins of our Pinot Gris grapes, as anyone who follows us on Instagram will see. And I said to Dad, it was either in 2012 or 2013, I said, why would we not make a red wine out of these grapes? And he said, well, because Pinot Gris is a white grape variety that just happens to have some colour in its skins. But we can fix that because we get rid of the skins. And back in those days, slightly orange Pinot Gris or slightly coloured Pinot Gris was seen as being sort of a fault in winemaking, certainly in Australia. Try not to throw my glass of wine on the floor. So Dad wasn't keen, and I kind of kept thinking about it and mentioned it a few times, and I like to think I wore him down, but he might have just come around to my way of thinking. Anyway, in 2015, Dad said, here's half a ton of fruit, Pinot Gris fruit. If you want to do a skinsy Pinot Gris, how do you want to make it? And I said, well, why don't we just do what we do with Pinot Noir? And we didn't quite do exactly what we do with Pinot Noir in the first year, but and I said, I promise I'll make it go away if it's no good. And I think Dad was reassured by that. But we we tasted the wine, and I think that all through the making of the wine, we were fascinated by it because it did very cool things. The color was really cool. We extracted it. We made it. The first one we made in a barrel that we'd taken the top out of because it was just a really small parcel of fruit. So it wasn't big enough for a whole fermenter. So we did it in a barrel on its end with the top taken out, and it was very nice wine. In the end, we were intrigued by it. We kept tasting it, saying, "Is it good? I think we like it. Do we like it?" And then we made it again in 2016, and we got up the courage to show it to some people, and those people liked it as well. And then we had it with the pasta and the tomato, and it was kind of a revelation. And the story, that's where the story began, and we just continued from there. I think these days, instead of, I'm not sure about Jeremy. I don't know if you're there, Jeremy. I'm not sure if it's, but in the early days, Dad and Jeremy would say, "Oh, that's Kate's wine." I think these days, the tone of voice is slightly different when it's mentioned. It's still attributed to me, but with slightly less scorn, perhaps. No scorn at all. Dad's. Could I say that you were proud of this wine, Richard? Yeah, excellent. It's a wine that we sell mostly to you guys and to the cellar door customers and to people who come to lunches here and who get to taste it with food, because I think it's a little confusing for people still. And when I go out into the world and I show it to our distributors, they go, "Yeah, that's really cool," but they struggle to sell it because anytime this wine is expected to sort of sit on the shelf and look after itself, it's mistaken for a rosé and served too cold. People don't understand what a great food wine it is. We've just discovered that it ages quite well for a few years, so that's nice as well. But I think the aging process has made it a little bit weightier in texture. It's made it a little bit more savoury, a bit more umami in the flavour profile than it was when it was young. Some of that bright fruitedness and perfume has kind of settled, and it's a bit more savoury and a beautiful food wine, I think, with the food tonight. Anyway, thank you, Alison. I think it's unique, and I think it's pretty delicious too. I have to say, though, it wasn't just... Oh, hello, Polly's bottom. There you go. There's all of Polly. Polly, what are you doing? Everyone can see you being silly. Oh, she's gone. Digging a hole in the sofa, just as the dog does. What's the oldest one I've tasted? So, David, the oldest one that we made was 2015. And I tasted the 2015. The 2015 is okay. It's not as good as I think the 17 and 18 are pretty good. And the 19, we had the 19 last year, I think. I really like the 22. I think that we've refined... Polly, what are you doing? Cotty, I have some awful orange wine, lots of natural. Orange wine scares some people. Yeah, absolutely, because a lot of orange wine is dreadful. And so I don't call this wine orange. I don't call this orange wine as such. I call it, and that's the other problem with selling it out there in the world, because restaurants say, where do we put it on our wine list? I said, well, the easiest thing is to pour it by the glass or match it to a dish on a degustation, and then you don't need to put it anywhere in the wine list. They think I'm being a bit of a smart ass, but I actually mean that. But often people will put it on, we'll put it in the Pinot Gris section. They'll put it on the orange wine section. They'll put it in if they've got a Skinsy white wine section, they'll put it there. So it is a bit confusing. It doesn't quite fit any of the designations because it's a little bit out there. But Dan just found an 18 Pinot Gris on skins when you moved house. You must try it, absolutely. It does refuse to be pigeonholed, Fee, absolutely. Craig is saying the next Kate concoction Pinot Gris on vines late picked. You must have built up the crib by now. I'm still working on Richard and Jeremy with the idea of doing a Pinot Gris late picked. I think the problem is that the last few years we haven't had appropriate weather for it because we've had sort of heat waves just at vintage or just after vintage, which it does deserve its own page in a wine list, Kate. Yeah, and if we'd held a bit more back, then we could suggest to one or two really cool restaurants that they could have like a vertical of Pinot Gris on skins from Moorooduc. That'd be pretty cool. I would like to make a late harvest Pinot Gris, but it needs to be a year when we've got the appropriate weather, and Jeremy and Richard are in the mood to indulge me, because it does mean leaving some fruit on the vine for a bit longer. That is tricky when you're taking nets off a vineyard, to have to leave nets on, just to make an experimental wine. If you take the nets off, the birds will eat them all. So yeah, but it would be fun to drink with any food, says Peter and Karen. Excellent. Maybe we're in different circles, says Noreen, but I've never seen a wine list with a section for skinsy white wine. Yeah, there's skinsy or textural white wines. It depends. Some they're pretty few and far between, those sort of wine lists, and they're pretty wine curious restaurants, if that makes sense. Some restaurants do have an other section. I think the other section scares people as well. They look at the other section and they go, oh, maybe I'll go for the not other. I'll go for the Chardonnay, or I'll go for, and I think also we're still in that phase of wine education with Pinot Gris that a lot of Australians think Pinot Gris is not a great variety, and so therefore people who are serious about wine don't want to taste it, and our wine has a price that means that people who are not serious about wine are unlikely to buy it. So we have to continue educating people that not all Pinot Gris are the same, and that some Pinot Gris are better than others, and some Pinot Gris are more serious than others. And I think that both our white Pinot Gris and this Pinot Gris on skins are definitely quite serious wines, but also have, I think, particularly Pinot Gris on skins, because of the colour and because it's unconventional, then it has a bit of a fun side to it as well. So you need seriously fun people to drink it. That's where you guys come in. Not all Pinot Gris are rated PG. Thank you, Fees. Some are rated M. Absolutely. Dan saying, yeah, definitely seen skin contact wine sections of restaurants in the last 12 months or so. I have to say, though, I was trying to say earlier and got distracted myself with other comments, but this wine was also inspired and encouraged by our very good friend Barney Flanders, who has been making some bits and pieces of skinsy white wines as well. He makes a Pinot Gris that's a similar colour to this. He makes a skinsy Gewürztraminer that we had a long time ago now. I think it might have been in 2021. So anyone who's been doing this with me since then might remember that. Barmer Park was your first Pinot Gris on skins, Rita. Well, that's a wine that we make, isn't it, Dad? Yeah, we make that wine. So there you go. They're Gris on skins we make, though. We've only made it for a couple of years, though. Anyway, Alison remembers that Barney's Gewürztraminer. Excellent. So when we started playing with this, Barney was the first person that we showed it to, and he was very encouraging and said that we should continue to make it. So it's mostly my fault, partly Barney's fault, also thanks to Dad being indulgent of his daughter's ridiculous whims that this wine exists. So Here's to crazy wines. I think it's not so crazy anymore, but it's pretty yummy. So who's coming to dinner with me next week in Sydney? Yeah, absolutely. Barney's Gewürz is delicious. It comes and goes. So, but if you're in contact with him, you should definitely see if you can get some of his Gewürz. It's pretty delicious. So next week we don't have drinks with Kate because I'm going to be doing a dinner. And Sergeant, I don't know if there are any sergeants on the guest list, Shell, because I'm not taking the bookings, but I will find out. Excellent. Paige and Dan are coming on Thursday. Love it. So there's still a few tickets available, I think, for both of the dinners. The Wesnick will be lovely. I think there's a few more wines on at the macaroni dinner on the Thursday night. But they're in different parts of Sydney, and I think that they'll both be awesome. So hopefully I'll see some of my Sydney friends up there during the week next week. You are correct, Alison. That Gewürz Gris from Ministry of Clouds is delicious. I've actually pulled a bottle out of the cellar on the weekend and stuck it in the fridge because I was making a stir fry, but I didn't get around to opening it. So I just have to have a think about what I'm going to match that to. Rita is saying the wine works well with the ottolenghi salad and steak Florentine, as well as the Italian sausages. Yum. And my 15-year-old son is super happy with the protein load. Excellent. The Craig and the Goodmans, it'll be a game time decision. So many work commitments at the moment. We want to be there. I would love you guys to be there. I'll be so sad if I don't get to see the Goodmans while I'm up in Sydney, but I understand that sometimes work gets in the way of fun. I think they'll be able to fit you in if you're last minute booking. So Wednesday or Thursday. I think Wednesday might be a little bit more intimate. Thursday it looks like it's all of the upstairs restaurant, but they're both going to be awesome. So whichever one works. After that, the week after next, we're going to be doing our guest wine. We're going to be drinking our guest wine. David, the Kung Pao chicken and the Gewürz Gris from Ministry of Clouds, absolutely fabulous. That sounds yum. So in 2 weeks' time, we're going to be doing Pinot Gris from Queerley, and I'm hoping that Tom will be able to be here. He is Kath and Kevin's son, and he's the winemaker there these days. I have to chase him up because I've sent him the date, but at this time of year, vintage trumps everything. So depending on how their fruit's ripening, I have a feeling that we probably won't be picking any grapes by then. So hopefully Tom will be available to come and sit next to me, talk about his Gris, but there's going to be lots of fun. Who's seeing ottolenghi on Sunday at the Arts Centre? Not me, but I'm a bit jealous. I think that'll be amazing. You'll have to write us a report, Rita. Let us know how it all goes. Will you get to? I presume you won't get to taste any of his food. Just hear him talk about his stuff. That sounds pretty fun. Rita, Kathleen's not joining us. Kathleen if Tom can't come, Kath said she'll come, but she wants Tom to come and talk about his wine because she's still very involved in the business, but Tom is the winemaker these days. And so she's like, everyone's heard me talk about everything that I need to talk about. So Tom's going to come and join us, feeding the 5,000. Exactly. I think that might be a bit hard, Alison. Is it part of the Melbourne Food and Wine Festival? I presume ottolenghi at the Arts Centre. That sounds pretty cool. It's going to be lots of fun. I have had a Queerley recently. I had their Chardonnay, and that's an innovation I think that Tom has brought to Queerley because Kath was always much more into other grape varieties than Chardonnay, and they're now making a delicious Chardonnay. that I highly recommend. We drank it the other day. It was yum. But yeah, we'll be doing the Musk Creek Pinot Gris in 2 weeks' time. And that's going to be ace. And then we'll be moving along. Their Pinot is awesome too. The 17 Rose is very yummy, says Fee, and I agree. Well, team, I'm starting to feel like my brain is winding down. We've got to 40 minutes. I think I'm going to love you and leave you here. Really great to experience this delicious Pinot Gris with a little bit of bottle age with you guys tonight. 22, so yeah, 4 years bottle age, 3 years bottle age once it got into the bottle. It's pretty good, pretty yummy. So I'm glad that it worked well with the tomatoes. I had a feeling it would. I'm glad that it's worked well with people's protein additions to the salad. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your wine. Kay will be doing the next two from Ngambie and then Rutherglen for the Taste of Rutherglen Festival. Awesome. Rita's talking about Fiano from Queerly. It's delicious. I wanted to do the Fiano, Rita, but they're a bit short on that. And Pinot Gris is kind of the thing that they've kind of hung their hat on, and I think that'll be a really interesting conversation. The Pinot Gris is pretty delicious too. Peter, I didn't mention sun-dried and semi-dried tomatoes. I think that sun-dried and semi-dried tomatoes are going to be a little strong in their flavour profile for this wine. But if you keep if you chop them up and pop them in a salad, into a pasta dish or something like that, it could work pretty well. Yes, Alison, the guest wine this pack is the Queerly Pinot Gris that we're tasting in 2 weeks' time. I haven't had sun-dried and semi-dried tomatoes for a while. I kind of overdosed on them in the 90s and in the 80s and 90s, and I think that, they're not my favourite thing anymore. But if you make your own, it'd be all good. Cotty, I still remember the Claudius. I think it was one of the few that I loved it. Who was the first people to? Yeah, she was the first person to plant Pinot Gris on the peninsula. We will talk all about that in 2 weeks' time. Slow roasted tomatoes were not as good as fresh cherry tomatoes. I had a feeling that would be the case, Sue. Good experimenting for us. Thank you. All right, team. Peter's predicting a comeback for semi-dried and sun-dried tomatoes. I'm looking forward to finding out what his plan is. In the meantime, going to love you and leave you. Take it easy, everyone, and have a lovely week. Take care. Cheers.